It's the ending of another week and time for the program, The Maize on ASO Television. My name is Rosemary UKOKO-TEGA. I welcome you most warmly. The Maize is a summary of weekly updates from the National Assembly coming your way every Friday at this time, that is 8 p.m. Major picks for today. Lawmakers seeking Nigeria's transition to parliamentary system of government. Announcement of Committee on Constitution Amendment at Senate. Watch ASO Television on DSTV 392, StarTimes TV 127, Free TV 507 on the UHF band 38. Watch as well all editions of The Maize on ASO Radio and Television YouTube channel. Like our page and please do subscribe.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we will realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite.
This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of ASO Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, ASO Television DSTV Channel 392, StarTimes Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
This is The Maize on ASO Television. We go ahead. The week ending today has been quite a busy one for lawmakers at both chambers. Representatives opened the week with a public policy dialogue on solid minerals. Here, all stakeholders, led by the Speaker, represented by the Deputy Speaker, Benjamin Kalu, agreed the solid minerals sector had remained largely untapped and that the time has come for Nigeria to shift focus from oil and grow its GDP from the rich solid minerals sector. A little from the two-day session for you.
2016 to 2025 mining industry development roadmap, aiming to increase the sector's GDP contribution 3% by 2025, is already showing progress. Projects like the Sejilola Gold Project in Osun State, governed by a private sector-led lens, are injecting millions of dollars into our economy and attracting much needed investment. To demonstrate this concisely, in the third quarter of 2023, Sejilola Gold Mine in Osun State, Nigeria's first industrial scale gold mine, hosted total sum of $118 million in revenue for its owners.
There is much to cover and many more changes that we must review to ensure that the bill meets the sector's demands. The public policy dialogue is a space for stakeholders to hold an integral role in the legislative process to ensure that the bill is adoptable and implementable. This cannot be done if experts and holders of regulation are not part of the process. The legislative process includes many parts: debates, concurrence, and revision. But the most important is collaboration.
That sector needs to be refocused and repositioned, to do more for the Nigerian economy. The minister is not here now, but I see his enthusiasm and his commitment. We have to encourage him. When we see what they are doing and how they are doing it and encourage them, it's a lot easier than trying to count the mistakes and what they have not done. They've just resumed, and with the steps they've taken so far, I can assure you that we are all pleased. Finally, what has been lacking, I may not have an opportunity to say it again, is that many governors think that the whole talk about solid minerals is a joke. In fact, in this country, if you want to count how many governors have ever bothered to talk about solid minerals, you may not find up to 5. And that is where the problem is. So the president should call them to order. Maybe have somebody educated on what solid minerals means. It's not just when you have gold, even your water, clay, it's all part of solid minerals. So please, Your Excellency, the Governor of Nasarawa, through you, talk to your colleagues. That sector is a sector that can make the difference in Nigeria.
In fact, I'm so happy with just the few words made by Professor Igembe. Because all along, it is about reform. He said something. He says solid minerals is bigger than oil. And a lot of people may take it as just a mere statement. I have spent most of my life in the upstream sector before I went to the downstream sector in the oil and gas sector. I know Nigeria has roughly about 40 billion barrels of oil reserve. I know Nigeria has just about 200 trillion standard cubic feet of gas. That's it. So in fact, in the US, we used to say Nigeria is a gas country that has some oil. But come back and look at it. How many states, in reality, apart from now that we are having oil in large commercial quantity in some northern parts of the country? If you take that out, how many states in reality have oil? Solid minerals, every state of Nigeria has one kind of solid minerals or the other. So it is not a question of being parasite. It's not somebody taking something from somebody that they don't deserve. It's not everybody will be proud of it, and it will be part and parcel of everyone that we have solid minerals. Now looking back at the kinds of minerals that we have, which were the things that made Nigeria what Nigeria was from the beginning, when Nigeria couldn't do anything but tin in those days. To now, a situation where you can go and find each one of these solid minerals in every state. So it will be the pride and the future.
To some more updates at the Green Chamber within the week. The topic on number of out-of-school children resurfaced on the floor of the Green Chamber within the week. This was through a motion moved by Hon Olamijuwonlo Ayodeji Alao Akala. The motion generated concerns as in contributions from lawmakers and the presiding officer, Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu. Now, this is how the motion was received.
The House notes that education is a fundamental right of every child, yet thousands of Nigerian children are being deprived of their basic human rights. Also note that the provisions of right to education in Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, though regarded as non-justiciable by Chapter 6 of the Constitution, have been given effect and made justiciable by other domestic laws such as the Compulsory Universal Basic Education Act 2004 and the Child's Rights Act of 2003. Recall that the 1991 Convention of the Rights of the Child was domesticated into Nigerian law and passed by the National Assembly in July 2003 as the Child Rights Act of 2003, CRA. Also recall the Section 15 of the CRA provides that every child has the right to free, compulsory, and universal basic education, and it shall be the duty of the government in Nigeria to provide such education, while Section 2.1 of the UBEC Act provides that every government in Nigeria shall provide free, compulsory, and universal basic education for every child of primary and junior secondary school age. Cognizant that the UNESCO Institute of Statistics approximated 258 million out of school children are out of school globally, with sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia being of most affected regions. Also cognizant that the issue of out-of-school children is a multifaceted problem with far-reaching consequences. Further cognizant of the significant role and obligation of parents and guardians in the prompt attendance of their children and wards in school, as well as consequences of their failure as captured in Section 2, 2, and 4 respectively of the UKOKO Act. Concerned that the actualization of promoting the right of education is bedeviled by issues such as low enrollment of children, particularly the girl child, low completion of basic education, shortage and poor quality infrastructure of schools, amongst others. Believe that education plays a crucial role in the breaking of cycle of poverty and promoting social and economic development. Also believe that to ensure the efficiency and productivity of children, as well as security for a better future of the Nigerian child, swift action needs to be taken to address the education crisis.
Mr. Speaker, I rise this afternoon to second the motion.
Thank you very much. Those in support of this motion, say aye. You want amendment? We will give one or two people opportunity to talk about it, and then also look at the prayers and see if there is any amendment needed in the prayers. The prayers within the boundaries of the legislature, federal legislature, especially when the state elements are there. Or do we restructure it in a way that we will not extend beyond the provisions of the principle of doctrine of separation of power? So those are the things we will look at when we deliberate on this now. So I would like comments.
I want to draw our attention to the fact that the current insecurity we're having in this country, kidnapping and all the vices associated with that, as a result of all these out-of-school children. Because when children are not trained, they end up being a nuisance to society. And I think I'm encouraging all of us, maybe we need to think out of the box, to come up with rules and laws, to make it compulsory for parents to ensure that their children at least get some minimum academic before they go into whatever they want to be in life.
Some parents would rather encourage the children to go and trade. And I agree with Leader, it is a crime against the state because a child, when it comes to education, is actually the product of the state, not the family. So, Mr. Speaker, please, the governors are key in this. So after we pass the budget, I'm thinking strategically here as a leadership, I think it would be wise to engage the Northern Governors Forum and you speak to them and tell them the honest truth of what happens after we pass the budget. It is pointless. Honorable Clement made a point, even if we dedicate our constituency or zonal intervention by 50%, which I have an issue with because the problems of education in my state might not be as bad as in Lagos State.
I want to challenge them to really sit down with the management of UKOKO. Let us even know this effort that we've put in over the years, what has been the result? Why do we still keep having these numbers going up by the day? The factors that we've talked about over the years, not having adequate budgetary provision, social factors, and what have you. Some of those things we've been talking about them. So it's been more plenty talks without movement.
Mr. Speaker, it would be nice as we are thinking after the security summit, would you have another summit on basic education, because that is the foundation. It is what you do at the basic level that you send to the tertiary to produce criminals. Have big children, they will go there, the first thing to do is to join the court so they can survive, given their limited education. So I think this is a very good bill. If it looks like we are talking to the states, I'd like to use the word urge. We have to urge them, but we also have to find a way. How can a state that collected money from UKOKO, did not utilize it, get money the next year? There has to be some control.
We needed to go to Akwa Ibom in those days, and you needed to see the number of children who were, just packaged to become maids and drivers and gate men. But today they are professionals because one man, a governor, insisted to change the whole story, the narratives. And I think it's doable. We can take the template from people like him and those who are already doing well. At the moment, I think it was Gombe. Gombe is doing well also in education. Prof, you remember when we were in the committee? There was one of the states that we went and they were excellent in what they were putting together for the basic education. We can achieve this. So that summit will be a robust platform to engage, to deliberate, and then come out with a resolution that might give birth to laws, amendment of existing laws, creation of new laws, and other systems that will help us achieve the intention of this motion. The motion is referred to Committee on Basic Education.
The current state of the country's economy also formed major concerns raised by lawmakers within the week at the plenary. A lawmaker, Honleke Joseph Abejide, moved the motion on need to rescue the Nigerian economy from imminent collapse and restore investors' confidence in the system. Here.
The House notes that conventional fiscal policies require a minimum of 90 days to manifest, in contrast to the current trend in Nigeria, where immediate enforcement is prevalent, thus necessitating the need for a shift towards a collaborative approach which integrates fiscal and monetary policies with stakeholders' engagement to prevent isolation and guarantee active stakeholders' involvement in consequential decisions. Also note that the Central Bank of Nigeria has raised customs tariffs 6 times, even more now, in the past 6 months, causing inflation and disrupting import and excise duty calculations, which businesses rely on for business planning. Aware that businesses and investors rely on a stable transactional exchange rate for import and excise duty calculation for at least 2 years to enable effective business planning. Alarmed that the Central Bank of Nigeria experienced a series of exchange rates adjustments for custom duties within 6 months, in 24 June 2023, the rate increased from 422 naira 30 kobo per dollar to 589 naira to $1, followed by 770 naira 88 kobo to $1 on July 6, 2023, 783 1.74 kobo to $1 on November 14, 2023, 951.941 to $1 on December 7, 2023, and a double adjustment on February 2nd and 3rd, 2024, reaching 1,356.833 kobo to $1 and 1,413.62 to $1, respectively, illustrating excessive fluctuations and volatility in the current market, raising significant concern about business planning and economic stability. Worried that due to the frequent custom exchange rate hikes, Nigerian importers are shifting towards ports in Tema, Ghana, Lomé, Togo, Cotonou, Benin Republic, causing a substantial 65% decrease in cargo importation and businesses' activities at the Nigerian seaports, with daily container examination dropping from approximately 250 to just about 80. Concerned that the current system in Nigeria, which relies on market-based exchange rate for calculating custom duties, causes fluctuation based on market conditions.
Honorable, please approach the acting chief whip before seeing the speaker.
And poses significant predictability and stability challenges for business, thus necessitating alternative solutions for custom duties by considering options like a fixed rate system or a hybrid system combining market-based and fees elements to enhance predictability and stability in the system. Resolve: 1. All the Federal Ministry of Finance and Central Bank of Nigeria to provide adequate notice to stakeholders in the maritime industry and the general public before altering custom exchange rates. This ensures transparency and allows stakeholders to prepare for any changes that may affect their operations. 2. Urge the Central Bank of Nigeria to maintain the system exchange rate for custom duty and excise duty purposes below 1,000 naira to $1, preferably
Honorable Gaza, you are distracting the speaker. Somebody is
to $1
reading his motion,
encourage
please.
patronage in Nigerian ports, to prevent galloping inflation, aiming to balance economic stability with competitiveness in the global market. 3, further urge the Federal Ministry of Finance to ensure the international best practice of allowing a 90-day grace period for fiscal policy changes to facilitate the completion of ongoing transactions under existing policies. And finally, number 4, mandate the committees of customs and excise, finance, and banking regulation to interface with the Minister of Finance, Central Bank of Nigeria Governor, and Comptroller General of Nigeria Customs on how fixed exchange rate for custom excise duties will work for the system to boost exports and encourage patronage in the nation's ports. I so move, Mr. Speaker, Honorable.
Lastly, from the Green Chamber, a group of no fewer than 60 lawmakers want Nigeria to abandon current presidential system of government and return to the parliamentary that the founding fathers handed down. The lawmakers, through their spokesperson Hon Abdul Samad Dasuki, briefed newsmen on the process that could eventually cause the transition. Time to hear them out.
Today, we stand on the cusp of history as lawmakers across party affiliations and regional backgrounds come together to present bills proposing constitutional alterations that seek a transition to parliamentary system of government. These bills seeking to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, advocate a transition from the current presidential system to a parliamentary system at all levels, federal, state, and local governments. The proposed alterations, when passed, will significantly impact the national political landscape. Our founders, in their wisdom and in their political atmosphere, devoid of compulsion, and having considered the interests of their native peoples and their desire to live together in a country where truth and justice reign, where no man is oppressed, and where all citizens live in peace and plenty, adopted the parliamentary system of government. That was the governance of the first system of the First Republic, a period when legislative and executive powers were exercised by the representatives of the people in parliament and in the executive. And by the nature of the system, these representatives were accountable to the people. For 6 years, while it was in operation, the system worked for the country. The collapse of the First Republic and the long stretch of the military rule culminated into the adoption of a new system of government, theoretically fashioned after the presidential system of the United States, but in practice imbibed the utmost attributes of military rule. No wonder the Nigerian president appears to be one of the most powerful presidents in the world. Over the years, the imperfections of presidential system of government have become glaring to all. Despite several alterations to the Constitution to address the shortcomings of a system that has denied the nation the opportunity of attaining its full potentials, the bills that were presented today for the first reading seek a return to the system of government adopted by our fathers, which made governance accountable, responsible, and responsive, and ultimately less expensive. The fundamental changes in the bills include: 1, parliamentary system replacing the president with a prime minister to serve as the head of government and establishing the office of the president as a ceremonial leader. These elective offices are to be chosen from the elected members of the legislature. Number 2, legislative elections. Shifting the process of electing governors and chairmen of local governments from general elections to voting within their respective legislative bodies. Number 3, to streamline administration, potentially reducing bureaucratic hurdles and fostering closer collaboration between the executive and legislative branches. Our conviction is that a streamlined executive branch, which replaces the president and the vice president with a prime minister and cabinet chosen from the legislature could lead to a smaller central government, reducing salaries and administrative expenses. We also hold strongly that shifting the election of governors and local government chairmen from general elections to votes within their respective legislative bodies could save billions spent on state and nationwide campaigns. Because ministers, commissioners at the state level and supervisors at the local government level emerge from the parliament, there is a greater coordination between the executive and the legislature, just as there will be increased legislative scrutiny, which will make cabinet members responsive to the yearnings of the people and more accountable. Gentlemen of the press, the proponents of these alterations to the Constitution for a parliamentary system of government have placed the interests of our nation above other interests. Our hope is that a national conversation that will be ignited by these bills will lead to a system of government that works, and our dear nation will attain her full potentials. Part of our agenda is that we are going to have a larger forum of those members, co-sponsors of this bill, to have a full session with the media, hopefully in the next couple of days, which will be communicated. So on this note, we're here to pass this message to you and onward to Nigerians.
We expect that the process may not necessarily terminate with the current administration. In actual fact, we expect that it will even go beyond 2027. But what is important is that we have set the ball rolling. And so the actual commencement may even be 2031. So we are not expecting that it will be take immediate effect. It's a process that we have ignited.
Change, they say, is constant, and this looks like a big one coming the way of Nigeria and Nigerians. This now lands us on the floor of the Senate. In what seemed like a like minds, the Senate, as major activity within the week, constituted a committee on constitution amendment. The 45-member committee was announced by President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio. Here.
For zonal representation, we have Senator Adamu Alero for Kebbi Central Northwest. We have Senator Ojus Okalo representing Abia, that is Southeast. We have Senator Fada Honsi representing Southwest. We have Senator Bomae Mohammed representing Northeast. We have Senator Barinada Mbigi representing South-South. We have Senator Omar Sadiq Suleiman representing North Central. The committee will be inaugurated when? On Tuesday, so that they can start functioning immediately. So all the motions and resolutions pertaining to constitutional amendment that have been brought to the Senate since last year will now be channeled straight to that committee. If you have your ideas, I have my ideas, you bring forward so that we can do a good job. And then Deputy Senate President, you also invite speakers of all the state assemblies for interaction with the Senate President before we go into the major issues of presenting the different memos.
Another top proceeding at the Red Chamber was the interface with service chiefs and heads of security agencies in the country. The Senate, after their around 9 hours meeting, passed a vote of confidence in the country's security heads for stepping up the game of checkmating crime and criminality in the country. Here is a little of that session.
We have here almost the entire security architecture of the country, and it is important that we go straight into this so that distinguished senators can have meaningful interactive session and enough time to do that. So, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that we take only the order of the day that we have, which is security briefing, while every other business be suspended or stood down to the next legislative day. I so move, Mr. President.
Support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate decided to take this option for us to have this interaction because of the various petitions that we have received from our constituents. And as part of our major oversight function, we decided to do this through Committee of the Whole. And so it's because of the need for us to hear directly from you, and then from there we can also brief the people. If there is any need for any cause for alarm, if there is no cause for alarm, we'll also know. And if there is anything you want the National Assembly, the Senate to do, we'll do so working closely with our partners in the House of Representatives. So we welcome you. And because of the way the Senate operates, we also apologize for the starting late, because I know that many of you probably have operations or engagements that you want to undertake immediately after this. We shall try as much as possible to speed up the process. The Leader of the Senate.
That the Committee of the Whole do sit in close session to take security briefing from our security chiefs, and at the end of which both the President of the Senate as well as our security chiefs will be at liberty to brief members of the press. But at this point, for the purpose of this security briefing, I move that we sit in closed session. I so move, Mr. President.
Those in support of the two motions say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So.
We know how security is even affecting food supply, the chain in Nigeria today, and it is pushing up the prices of just very common staple food in Nigeria. So because of that, it is very pertinent, and it behoves on us that we as representatives of the people, that we have to take a very serious, cognizant concern and making sure that the menace of insecurity is stamped out in Nigeria. And what we think we can do is by engaging the security chiefs, by asking questions, where and what, and which, and when, and how do they want to tackle this, and that so that Nigerians can sleep with their two eyes closed, not only one eye closed or one eye open, and that to ensure that Nigerians have a very good lease of life in their own land. So today, we listened to them. They told us so many other issues. We related with them about our experiences and the experiences of our constituents, what they have been facing, samples of what had happened, the horrendous situations that Nigerians were, the parlor situations that Nigerians were. So examples of what happened even in Abuja here. So under the service chiefs, they even allayed our fears. They even satisfactorily answered our questions, and they told us plans they had, which is underway, that is going to nip everything in the bud. And we resolved some ways that, yes, and we believe that with the efforts that the security men, our security men and women have put into the job of securing Nigeria, and with what we had today, we believe that Nigerians will give a sigh of relief. What they have been doing, we are impressed in the actions taken so far, especially when you look at some reported cases and then the action of the security chiefs.
Now, before we round off the maize and the last update from the Red Chamber, Senate Committee on Finance is inviting a number of agencies, including the NNPC Limited and FIRS, to explain the poor state of federal roads across the country, despite the whooping sum of 2.59 trillion naira tax credit approved by the Muhammadu Buhari's administration. Chairman, Senate Committee on Finance, Senator Sani Musa, is in charge here.
The road projects, which an initiative of the federal government have given to NNPC to fund with their tax credits. So we just want to know how much has been released, what are the position of the projects, because looking at it, that it started in 2021. And when you look at the trend of the economy in 2021 and now, but I'm happy to hear that there will be no variation. But I doubt if that statement could be right, because it's coming from our own side. So it's better we hear from the other side. And the purpose of this, let's get it right, is that this administration inherited this initiative. And what this committee is trying to do, especially in the area of the finances, is to make sure that the right thing is done. If these payments were done previously in a way they understand it that time, we have our own way based on the renewed hope that this administration is trying to give Nigerians. We must translate whatever we say we are going to do to action physically. So the purpose of this is for us to verify if actually this money has been paid out. We will now raise our questions to the relevant agencies, MDAs. And we are talking about works. We will now put this, whatever we hear from them, before works and said, look, the money is there. And this money is spread over a period. There is guarantee that when you work, you have your money. So what is stalling the work? I think works should be able to answer us. But we should be able to hear from those funding those projects, if actually they are releasing payments when certificates come. I think that's one of the purposes.
Many thanks for watching The Maze today. We meet again Friday next week at 8 p.m. Meanwhile, watch all editions on our YouTube channel, ASO Radio and Television. Like our page and please subscribe. I am Rosemary UKOKO-TEGA.